So, hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today we have Ashish joining us. He has admits from numerous universities in US, and most of them are fully funded by the universities. So yeah, Ashish, can you just introduce yourself and the admits that you have?
Hi Anurag. First of all, thank you for setting this up. Uh, so in the US, I have admits from Penn State, where I have a full scholarship and some stipend. Then from Wisconsin, Madison, I have full scholarship and I'm getting $1,300
Mhm.
stipend. Then there is Broad, where it's almost 100%
Mhm.
funded. Uh, then I have from Notre Dame, which
Mhm.
is 70,000 USD. And yeah, that's about it. And apart from MBA, I did apply initially for masters in supply chain, so I was interested in that field. So I
Mhm.
have admits from Michigan Ross. They have a very reputed supply chain program. It's ranked one or
Mhm.
two. It keeps switching between
Yeah.
MIT and Ross. And in MIT, I applied in the global scale network, and I have admits from there as well. So yeah, so two masters and rest of them are MBAs.
So yeah, so many admits. So which one have you
Yeah.
actually zeroed down upon right now? I know the situation is not something I will ask, but which one are you thinking of going this year? Not this year, maybe next year. I don't know.
So the choice was pretty simple for me. So I had filtering criteria. So STEM was one of them.
Mhm.
So I wanted my program to be STEM to be able to stay. So when I was applying,
Mhm.
not a lot of schools were STEM. By the
Mhm.
time I've ended my application, a lot of schools became STEM.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that had helped me filter out, for example, like Broad, which was not STEM. So I,
Uh-huh.
even though I really liked the school and they're very popular for supply chain, I didn't go.
Mhm.
And then funding, of course, in this hard times, it's important to do a fully funded MBA rather than putting in.
Mhm.
So I had rejected then Notre Dame,
Mhm.
and then finally zeroed down to Wisconsin. They
Mhm.
have a brilliant regional. It's a brilliant regional school. So in Midwest,
Mhm.
you can get into really good
Mhm.
companies, and it's a school which is really working hard on improving its ranking. Plus,
Mhm.
the funding that I got is very good.
Mhm.
$1,300 a month. It's like absolutely
Okay,
good.
so you're getting
So
$1,300 of the 100% scholarship that you got from Wisconsin. That's something
yeah, yes,
really,
yes,
really
yes.
great, man.
That's yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It eases a burden on you. Probably it'll cost lesser than my undergrad. So
yeah.
why not?
And no, I just converted it into rupees, and suddenly I realized it's more than 1 lakh rupees. And suddenly you
Yeah,
don't find
ab-
a lot of even Indian people earning 1 lakh rupees. It's a very big scholar amount that you get in a monthly. As a scholar.
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes. And
So
Wisconsin is generous with the scholarship. Yes.
yeah, so that's something then obviously becomes a good pick for you.
Right.
Like you have stated, like you have got multiple admits. Now when you get into the application process, Ashish, so there will be multiple steps to it. Maybe getting
Mm.
an GMAT or then getting application process, essays, XYZ. So how did you went about it? Like what was your thought process or what was your journey through it?
Right. So it's a long process. If you think that I prepare for GMAT and that is it, once I get a good score, after that the real story begins. So it's a long process. So be prepared for it, and most of us will be doing it along with our normal daily jobs, which has
Yeah.
already a lot of pressure. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get GMAT out of my way as soon as possible. So I was in Sri Lanka at that time, and I had
Okay.
to give GMAT there. Yeah, so I got done. I got done with the GMAT pretty early, sometime in
Uh-huh.
February.
Uh-huh.
I gave the GMAT. I didn't get the score that I really wanted, so I got a 680.
Mhm.
Uh, and the mocks I was getting 710, so I was hoping for that. And then
Mhm.
uh, due to some personal reasons, and I had to then move to Thailand for 3 months. I had completely missed the time to prepare for GMAT. So come June, I had two options: either to restart my GMAT preparation or
Mhm.
to start focusing on application because round one, round two are coming up very fast. So I spoke to a lot of people and they told me that GMAT is important, but your
Mhm.
application is also very important. So I took a call to work on the applications rather than redo my GMAT at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
And the biggest step was to write your story. And what I used to do was I had put SOP on the go. I made this a doc which was there on my phone, laptop. So
Mhm.
if I am in the washroom, if I am outside, whenever I get ideas about my story and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do I link it, I
Mhm.
will just type it there. And
Sure.
then R1 applications, the big ones, I had already thought of what their questions are. So I will always think in that way, like, what should I tell? So I spend a lot of time in my application and then LORs, of course.
Sure.
Try to get 2 or 3 LORs and then use based on what the university is asking for. So in some universities, I even use my professor's LOR like MIT because they were very academic oriented.
Sure.
So prepare on the basis of the university, but have your overall story intact in your mind.
Got it. Got it.
Then you
Got
can
it.
have,
But actually,
yeah.
a lot of people who will be watching will be more like if they've had some other personal reason to go to Thailand, they will love it actually. Maybe not right now, but actually. So
No,
yeah.
so Thailand was amazing. If I don't get a job in US, Thailand is where I'll target.
Sure. So, like you stated, you primarily targeted the USB schools only. You didn't look at any other geographies, Ashish, or is it that you just wanted to be in US? Hopefully, this fall around.
So if you just do a simple comparison between what a US MBA grad gets paid versus any other country, you will quickly realize that the difference is not 90-20.
Yeah.
It's a huge gap.
Uh-huh.
So it's not. It's because the US MBA is valued by the companies. It's also because the quality of MBA in the US is really great. So in terms of when I was applying, I had no plans outside the US. But now with the current situation and what's going on, probably I think that I would suggest everybody to have 1 or 2 backup outside the US also.
Sure. Sure.
Because the US policies are ever changing. So Canada is a safe option. But then what your long-term goals are, if you want to settle down and you can take a compromise on your quality of education and your career journey, probably you can switch. And then there is the option of ISB, which I was considering.
Sure.
But then I thought that ISB almost is going to cost me as much as the US school. And I have met so many people now who after ISB are now doing a second MBA in the US. So there must be some problem, or there must be some things that they still want to explore. So I was not so attracted by ISB later on.
Got it. One thing obviously I understand is the ROI thing. So ISB might not be able to put it. The equation doesn't fits in for ISB, at least what I realized. So yeah, so that makes it pretty apt for you to actually apply for the USB schools. Now, while you are applying, like you told, SOP you prepared on a go. The LORs is something you should obviously have it handy, and you never know when you need it. Like on the GMAT prep, like you are saying, you have to do it while you are actually also doing your other daily work activities, be it professional or personal. So how did you cope up with it? Like, was there any particular thing that you went about it, or it just like you're in Sri Lanka? So it's a very different story from most of us. So can you just take us through your GMAT prep?
Yeah, so GMAT is, I think, is the biggest blocking point for most of the candidates, because most of the people try to start in the year of the application, and then they have very less time to get it out. Like some people can do it easily, and some people face a tough time. So I'm one of those people who have exam phobia. It started with IIT, JEE, IEEE. I would prepare very well, but on the exam day something will happen. So what I would suggest is GMAT is not the hardest exam to crack, and you can prepare for it very easily. But you will have to structure your preparation and show some commitment towards it. So what I had done is that I had decided that I want to give the exam in February. That means in December I had made my 45 days plan. Each day what I want to do. I quickly went through the syllabus, which was not such a big deal, and then I had written that I'd give mocks in spaces at the early stage, and then towards the end I'll keep giving mocks again and again. Try to divide your preparation equally between quants and verbal. I know that you like quants, but on verbal there are some topics that will not come in 30 days or 45 days. They need sort of habitual practice, like critical reasoning and even sentence correction.
Got it.
Once you compare it with GRE, GMAT verbal is much harder, because you have to have those skills rather than you cannot learn the words. And so give it enough time. Try to start reading as soon as you can, even without GMAT preparation in mind, and focus on your grammar. If you can improve your grammar beforehand, before the preparation really kicks in, it'll be really great. Yeah. So verbal, in fact, saved me. I got 36 in verbal. Because I had completely screwed my quants. Had I not screwed it, I would have got 710. So getting a 15 quants is something that you can really achieve. But there are also some topics that usually tend to focus, but are very important from GMAT standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have to get into the groove of the exam. And if big advice is, if you don't get a good score on the first go, give your second attempt as soon as possible
Got it.
after your first attempt. Don't make a gap in between and then
Mm-hmm.
later on think of giving a second attempt. That doesn't work.
That does. Sure. So
Yeah.
Ashish, like you have been through that process, like you told, GMAT is just one part of the component. It's obviously a blocker for few of us. Now you have went through this process. So what was like? Can you explain who are you basically? What I want to know is basically what is your professional background? How do you relate your GMAT, your story, your LORs, so that it becomes vital for the audience, so they know how to net that story for the adcoms to go through it.
Right. A very interesting question, actually. So in my case, I knew that GMAT is not going to be my strong point.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And having accepted that, I need to make everything else my strong point.
sure.
So I knew that I had to distinguish myself. I knew that I had the profile. I could speak about it.
Yeah,
International project always helps in that case.
yeah.
Uh, so so what I had done was that if my GMAT was low, now I had to prove my quantitative ability somewhere else. So in the meantime, I had gotten done with some of these analytics courses, or I took a course on MIT called Supply Chain Analytics, which is a rigorous course, very
Okay.
quant based, and got a very good score in that. So
Okay.
I knew that I could use all of this in my optional essays to explain what I had done with the bad GMAT score and how my points abilities are still intact. Maybe GMAT is not the best reflection of that. So I had found some ways to compensate for the low score in GMAT.
Got it.
And then about the application, I was very enthusiastic, at least in the first 3 or 4 applications. I had spoken to a lot of people from that school, so you get the sense of the school. And before that, I had made a couple of calls to the admissions director, or had attended their podcasts. It
Okay.
will get you application fee waiver plus a lot
Okay.
of
Yeah.
knowledge. So that's a great way to know what school's USP is, because every school has its own USP,
Got it. Yeah.
and then what your USP is, and then it's like a Venn diagram. So you
Yeah.
find the common link and you emphasize on that in your application. So once you're able to do that, you'll really stand out, and they'll feel that you've put in time and
Got it.
efforts to look into the school. And always try to speak to alumni, because you will be asked in your interview, and you
Agree.
could just name drop them, and that'll give a good impression. So I had taken care of all these. Some of us would say chota points, but all of this helped to get, because, for example, I tell you, in Wisconsin, people are there with 730, 740 GMAT with 1 year scholarship, versus I with 680 and two
Got
years
it.
scholarship and a stipend. So things like these could make a difference.
So yeah, one thing also I realize is that compared to the Indian B schools are very GMAT centric in some other way. They look for
Yes.
give a way higher weightage to the GMAT, which kind of rules out the ISB thing also somewhat. But then USB schools, what I understand from this conversation is that it looks more into profile and looks as a complete all-round persona, and rather than just focusing on the GMAT component. And that's something most of us can actually work on, even if you're not so good in the GMAT part.
Anurag, absolutely on point. I think you have
Yeah.
added this good. So India is definitely, we are coming from CAT for past 30
Yeah.
years, so it will take us a lot more time, even with ISB. And then Indian applicants, because the competition is so high, so they know that they have to do really, really well on the GMAT. But just to add to you, I think Canada is also one country which
Sure.
focuses a lot on overall personality. So I know my very close friend who had 680, 690 getting into Ivy versus 730. Ivy did not even accepting their application in the pre assessment only. They had rejected. So so don't make GMAT. I mean, focus a lot on GMAT when you are far from the application deadlines. Try to get as good as a score that you can, because any good score in GMAT is only going to help you. But then don't make it your life and death. Don't make it like a IIT JEE where you're just
Yeah.
giving attempts after attempts after attempts. Yeah.
Got it, Ashish. So I got a feel of what you went through and where are you standing. So yeah, that was very helpful, Ashish. Hopefully you get through peaceful. Maybe I hope, I don't know, maybe not this year. It's looking very,
Uh-huh.
very dark this time around. But let's see. Hopefully, you make it to the school next year. And all the best for your future endeavors, Ashish.
Thank you. This I hope this helps, and if somebody would like to contact me, you can always pass
Sure.
on my number.
Thanks.
All right, Anurag. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Ashish. Thanks for watching the video and do subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.